Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of DPX Live. I'm your host Joe Warner. As Brandy said in the chat, she will not be here today this week, but hopefully she'll be back next week. A few things real quick. We have some events coming up, like I said previous. I just want to point them out one more time. We're going to be at the 6th Precinct September 27th, and then we're going to be at the Pilot House in Grosse Ile on September 28th. You can go to our Facebook page and look up the tickets there, or you can go and subscribe to our group. If you subscribe to our group, you'll be the first ones to know about any future events coming up, to include Eloise and things of that nature. So we're just going to jump into it today. I'm sorry, we also have the Ghost Hunt gallery reading with Weird Weekends. So definitely check that one out as well. So we're going to jump right into it. Today's guest, all the way from the UK, he stayed up super late to be with us, is going to be Phil Sinclair. So without further ado, let me introduce Phil Sinclair.
Hello?
How you doing, buddy? Can you hear us?
Yeah, can I hear you fine, lovely.
All right, perfect. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Well, I
Nice and
appreciate
late.
well, I appreciate you staying up late because I know it's 9 o'clock here, but it's what time over there?
It's 2 a.m. here.
2 a.m. Well, prime
Yeah.
ghost hunting time, right?
Yeah, well, I'm up all night anyway, so it's no bother.
Perfect. So, I really want to appreciate you coming on the show. I've been following your page and talking with you for quite a bit. I love a lot of the content and stuff that you do. But can you tell everyone what got you started in paranormal investigating?
Well, I've always had an interest in investigating. It's always been a passion of mine, but I really didn't get doing it until about 3 years ago. You know, I just thought I'd bite the bullet and just go out and investigate, and here I am. That's it. Just just to wind back, my main paranormal, enthusiasm came from stories from my dad. How he told me about experiences he had as a child, like playing with an imaginary friend, but finding out that imaginary friend was actually a girl that I believe died in the house
Oh wow.
or on the street, something like that. He found that out like years later when he asked, like, well, my nan, his mum. He asked, "Oh, do you remember that girl I used to play with and all that lot?" And my nan said, "Oh well, no, that was a girl that died like years prior." So pretty crazy things like that. It's told me more stories, you know, and that's fueled my interest in the
Hmm.
paranormal. So if my dad's telling me stories like this, then surely there's got to be something else, and I've just investigated ever since.
Yeah, you do
And
quite a
that's
bit of investigating. I noticed that you're always doing a lot of live stuff, and you do a lot of stuff outside. I noticed. Is that something you favor to, or?
I do prefer, I do like it outside, but it's more or less in the UK. It's quite difficult to get into indoor places without paying a massive fee, or getting somebody to quite understand what you're doing.
Hmm.
But when you do an outdoor location, you can kind of, well, it's free basically, and you can, if it's allegedly to be haunted, then you just go out and investigate. But most of the investigations are pretty much outside. But
Yeah, we
I've done the odd indoor one, and some good evidence has been found
well we
from the
got
indoor
we got
location.
some good evidence to show with some of your stuff that's from outside. So I'm excited to show it. Real quick, the place that you're in right now, I noticed a few of your videos. You actually do stuff in there. Is there a significance, or what surrounds that building that you're in?
It's just basically just a shed on the property. That's all it is, and I just do my live chats with the people that follow me in here, and I just it's just a room to interact with the the fans, if you'd like to call them that. and it's just a bit of a private place for me to interact with people. So it's good.
Gotcha.
I like it's called the Shed of the Dead. The fans have named it that. So it's good. People enjoy watching the videos of me being in here, so it's good. But basically, it's just when I've done an investigation, I can come here and we can, day after, we can have a little discussion, what we thought of the investigation, just basically just like an evaluation of what happened or what people thought they saw or heard. It's good, it's good.
Good little quiet place then.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it is.
I want to thank everyone that's watching. I'm watching the chat right now. If you want to put where you're watching from, I'll give you a shout out. I know we got a broad audience, and I know it's kind of small on your screen, so I do apologize. Try to make it as big as I can for you.
Yes, I've just seen if there's anyone I recognise.
There's Charles Burrows. He's from the UK.
Charles,
Um,
thanks for coming on.
and then there's some other names that I don't recognize. There's a Carla, or I might
Charles,
recognize. I don't want to say that I don't, but but I know Brandy and Ken are in the chat. They're part of our group. Den Porters from North Carolina. Thank you guys for tuning in. Carla Wilkes is from Doncaster, South Yorkshire. Am I saying that right?
yeah, yeah. Doncaster, South Yorkshire, that's where
And then
it's
Christopher
a
Mason's from the UK. We got Patrick from Perrysburg, Ohio. Shane from Windsor, Canada. And Michelle from Michigan. And Penny from California. So we got people from everywhere today. I like it.
good. It's a broad audience. I like it.
Exactly. So let's jump right into some evidence since we're starting the show. We're going to start talking about it's a cemetery that you went to. I want to make sure I said it right. Wardson?
Ward's End, yeah, that's what it's called, yeah.
So we got a little clip that we're going to play, and then we'll talk about it. Oh, we froze. Hold on one sec. Go back to the last screen. All right. Let's try it one more time. And we froze again. There we go.
So, check it out.
I just want to point out that before the show started today, I got to give props to Tim and Jaden. We installed a whole bunch of new stuff over the week, and we pretty much, I don't know, 5 minutes before the show took out a graphics card and some memory, and so we might have a few glitches, but let's try doing that one more time if you don't mind.
Cemetery in Sheffield. The cemetery was opened in the 19th century and closed in 1968. The cemetery is now abandoned and left to ruin. So as you can imagine, the place should be full of activity. So I'm hoping to find any entities, spirits that may be roaming this area. So check it out.
So this place is kind of unique because of some stuff that happened there. So can you tell us a little history about the place first?
Basically, it's a cemetery which basically closed in the early 60s, and it's just and nobody's cared about it. It's just left, and nature's taken over, and just all these people who was in the cemetery have just been forgotten about and left, and the gravestones have been kicked over or fell over, and trees have uprooted the gravestones, and things like that can only trigger paranormal activity, and these people have been forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people investigate this graveyard, and they've had a lot of activity from this cemetery, and I don't blame the evidence what we're getting from there, because these people have been left and they've been forgotten about. time has just taken over.
Some of the
So,
tombstones there. What are some of the dates that you see on them?
um, possibly, probably the middle 1800s. That's
Mhm.
probably the earliest gravestones there.
That's been there for quite a while then.
They've been over 100 years. Yeah, definitely.
So you were on a show that was actually premiered here in the U.S. Regarding this cemetery, correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that investigation? And then we do have the video clip to show of it, but what kind of led up to that event?
So it's basically before I go out to investigate anywhere, I do my research. I ask people, can you tell me any haunted locations? And this name of the cemetery popped up, and so I went out and investigated there. Thought nothing of it. Um, Tried all the usual things like EVPs,
Hmm.
spirit box, and things didn't get going until what people might know of an ovulus, but there's something similar to that what we use. It's called a paratech, and that works in the same way as an ovulus does. And basically, it just picks words out, and base theorists say that it could be spirits talking to us,
Hmm.
like the device is picking up the language, what the spirit could be talking to us, about. So I'm asking questions, and all I'm getting through this Ovulus device is negative responses, like kill and feed and your soul, and all these negative responses. Then a bit later on in the investigation, I use another device, which is called a Solomon device, and basically that it's playing the Lord's Prayer, but um, over and over. And
Hmm.
they say that this angers spirits, like any evil entity or anything like that, it angers them. So when I'm playing this over and over, I start to feel like a burning sensation on my neck, and as I get people to have a look at it, it appears that I have been scratched in some way.
And we
Very,
actually
very strange.
we actually have that video clip, so let's try playing that now.
A ghost hunter becomes the hunted.
You just attacked me!
I just had the earliest sensation on my neck, and it looked like scratches. Pretty crazy, to be honest.
That's crazy because you can actually see the three red marks going down your neck.
Like I say, I mean, I'm not saying it is what it's alluding to. It could be anything, but it is quite strange how it's three scratches there. And all I was getting prior was, you know, negative responses, like something didn't want me there.
Hmm. Well, and I will note too that I watched a long while of all your videos, and at no point during any of your video were your hands around your neck. Your hands were on the equipment, and then I believe your other hand was kind of motioning towards things most of the time. So
I
there
had
was,
gloves on the entire time as well, so
yeah, they were leather gloves, weren't they?
yeah, leather gloves, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean the scratch marks, and not only were they normal scratch, you get the little lines, but they were thick, you know marks going
Yeah,
down the neck.
crazy, yeah. It was, yeah, I've
Did you
never had
get
an experience like it again.
did you get like a burning sensation, or what kind of feeling did you
It,
get from
it,
it?
it didn't feel like anything that scratched me, it just felt like a tingling burning.
Hmm.
It didn't feel like it didn't feel like a scratch. It just felt like a pain I've never felt before. Well, it weren't really pain, to be honest. It weren't something what I were in agony with. It just felt like a really uncomfortable sensation on my neck.
What
And
happened
then,
with what happened with the investigation after that happened to you?
well, basically, it pretty much finished after that. I just that
That
way I kind
that
of
was the
wrapped it
sign
up.
to go.
Just for like, no, it's. I don't know what I'm dealing with here,
Did
so
you
I'm out.
have you been back to that location since?
Yes,
Have you?
been back.
How has the energy been since then? Was it kind of the same energy at that point, or was it?
No, it was kind of more of a calmer energy. There, there was no negative responses or anything like that coming through the second time. But the second time I went, I was calling out for communication, and the obviously said Elizabeth. Well, the first question I asked was, if there's a spirit here, can you tell me your name, please? And the first word that comes through is Elizabeth. And there's a couple of people with me at the time. And somebody notices that one of the gravestones said Elizabeth on it.
Oh,
I was
really?
literally right next to the gravestone that said Elizabeth on. But that could be a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ruling out that being a coincidence, but what are the chances of that happening,
Well, I could say too, and I know Brandy and a few others are in here, with us investigating the Eloise Psychiatric Hospital that we do all the time, we can go in there sometimes and it's just an off feeling that it's just not the same from the time prior. And I mean, you could have just got it at the wrong time at that point, where, you were just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I think it's the way how you approach the investigation. Like that investigation, I was quite what's the word? Quite aggressive with my investigation technique.
Antagonizing a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the word. Yeah,
Okay.
I was going in kind of like but the second time I was calmer. So I might have been upsetting something with that approach.
Mm-hmm. And I can agree with that, because I think sometimes they can pick up on your energy where if you're vulnerable or you're trying to antagonize it and stuff of that nature, that it's going to react with you and interact with you in that same sense.
Definitely.
And I think at that point, when you were calling it out, I think it did exactly what you wanted.
Definitely, yeah. I got what I asked for, basically.
Hey, you got some good evidence out of it, though.
Well, I always find with my evidence, I found it's always come from when I've approached it aggressively.
Uh-huh.
That is when the evidence has happened.
Mm-hmm.
The things I found hasn't happened right away.
Mm-hmm.
It's more towards the end, of the investigation. It's not something that's happened 10 minutes in or 20 minutes in. It's probably about 2 hours or an hour in. So
it's definitely an interesting place. I'm looking at the pic. I'm looking at the pictures, and it's a shame that they just let it overgrown, especially with the tombstones and stuff being dated back to the 1800s and stuff of that. Is it?
Well, there'll be nobody around to remember them, so there's nobody cares. It's sad. It's sad, but you always find in places like your insane asylums and places what's been forgotten about. They're your most active places because the spirits have been forgotten about.
Absolutely.
They want to be known. They want to make their voices heard. That's what I believe, anyway.
I agree with you, because we do our research and we find names, and a lot of times we'll get those names. We'll say the names, and they'll actually start interacting with us, because we'll get different things every time depending on what names we're saying. So I agree with you 110% on that.
I've done it before where I felt like I'm having a conversation with a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. It's weird. Skeptics would say it's for another reason, but it is what it is.
Yep. And like Ken just said in the chat, energy can change relatively quick sometimes. So you never know what you're gonna get.
From A to Z very quickly.
Yep. So let's move on to the next location, which we definitely got some interesting things to talk about. Stocksbridge.
Mm-hmm.
So let's we got another quick video clip. Hopefully it'll work this time. Let's see if it goes.
Hi guys, here I am on the bridge of the Stocksbridge bypass. This road is known as the most haunted road within Britain. When this road was under construction, two security guards witnessed a group of children playing Ring Roses. Also, there has been reports of a monk walking the area. I am hoping to make contact with these entities. Check it out.
So first off, tell us about the location, some of the history, and why everyone thinks it's haunted.
Basically, the road was when the road was under construction. Two security guards was looking after it, and basically they heard children playing. So they went to where they heard the sounds of children playing, and the guys literally saw children like doing a Ring the Rosie.
Mm-hmm.
And they were freaked out. They went, and later on there was some police officers. I believe, don't quote me on it, but I believe they called the police.
Okay.
And the police went to investigate these claims because it was at night, and they were quite freaked out why there were children there. And these police officers came to the location, and while they were sat in the car, a figure of a monk approached them. I might have got that story wrong, but both things happened to those people. So I don't know quite sure the timeline, but all I know is that there was two security guards who witnessed children, and two police officers saw a man approach them in a car dressed like a monk,
Mm-hmm.
and he just disappeared into thin air. This place appeared on a TV show in the United Kingdom in the early 90s. Strange but True it was called, and all these, I believe the security guard and the policeman, went on the show to testify, what they saw, and and if it was a story was making up, I mean, these guys, they was laughed at. These, people just did not believe a word they were saying. But these guys were so sure of what they saw. It's crazy, and the place has been, and ever since the place has been, people have seen lots of hauntings in this place. The road was opened on Friday the 13th.
Of course it was.
So I don't, all I know is that the road, when it was finished, it was opened on Friday the 13th, and it is not that particular road is known as the most dangerous stretch of road in the United Kingdom.
Really?
Lots and lots of people have died on that road.
Is it a relatively?
It's not a dangerous road or anything like that. It just seems to be a place where car accidents keep happening and people keep dying on this road. And it's very strange. Every time I've investigated there, there's always been some activity.
Real quick in the chat, Joan Willis says hi. She's from the U.S. Sarah Harris says hi. Sarah, wherever you're from, throw it in the chat so we know. Patrick wants to know, were you able to interact with any of the children during any of your investigations?
I haven't personally, no. I believe I was making contact with the monk. What was alleged to be, the story is that the monk at the time was banished from the church. I don't know if he was into evil practices or anything like that, but he was banished from the church nearby.
Okay.
And the story is that he kind of took refuge in the woodland, and I think he must have died from exposure or something like that, and that's why the monk is there. So, but the road's been built on that stretch of land where he would have lived, kind of thing.
So we do have the video, which you caught, which appears to be, and I've watched it a bunch of times and zoomed in on it, someone actually walking behind you guys while you're investigating.
Yeah, people have examined it, and people have said that you can actually see like a guy with a hood on, but it is what it is,
So we're gonna play that video. It's gonna be just to the side of us, and it's gonna be on a loop, so everyone will be able to see it. It's gonna be the. You got it? Go ahead. There we go. Oh, there we go. So it's gonna be on slow, and then it's gonna be. This is the zoomed in portion of it, and it's gonna be right over your shoulder there. And when I zoomed in on it and slowed it down a little bit, and you do have it slow here, you could definitely tell that there's a head, shoulders, and everything moving. And then a lot of the voice recordings and stuff coming in at that time were kind of relevant to it. It seemed like. So at this point of your investigation, what were you guys doing?
Well, the girl who was with me was my partner at the time, and basically before that clip happens, we're getting all these negative responses coming through, like your soul and hell, and all these really like negative responses coming through. And basically, my partner at the time said she could feel as though something was behind her, and no, that's not right. That's not right. When the figure goes by me, my partner at the time says, moments later, she says she can feel something stood behind her.
Okay.
So that, to me, looks like the figure's gone behind me and then walked, around the back of her as well.
Mm-hmm. And then
I didn't see at the time. It was the people what saw it. Afterwards, I didn't not know. I knew nothing about this at the time, and then I was just getting all these messages from people saying, "Have you seen that behind your shoulder?"
yeah,
And
that happens a lot with us with our live feeds. I'll see the comments that, hey, this happened, but it's not until you go back and actually look at it that you can see what other people are seeing, and then it kind of makes sense with your investigation when you can kind of put it all together.
I've never captured anything like that since. I've never. That is the first bit of evidence, moving visual evidence I've catched. Of something what's what
And,
shouldn't be there.
and just to point out, because I watched it, like I said, a bunch of times, the light source that's over or around your shoulder right there, it's not moving at all. I mean, there's nothing coming from behind or anything like that. I mean, it's all completely still.
People might argue it's it might be lens flare or something like that, but it doesn't make any sense to be that to me.
Mm-hmm.
It it's something moving. It's
Well, then, right after that, you had a bunch of stuff come in on some of the equipment that you were using, and I actually got a clip for the audio on that. So why don't we play that real quick?
Use your voice. Use it. Don't. He's just said your soul. And we had that deep inner. Just said inner. Your inner soul. Your soul inner, and it just said heaven. Do you want my soul?
We'll play that again in a minute. But I mean, that's kind of. I mean, like you said, you kind of call it out, and then it says it wants your soul.
and a bit later on, I say, do you want to leave? Literally says get out, and it's two words, which is unusual to happen for two words to come through like that.
Yeah, because it was all in unison too. It wasn't like a random word here, a random word here, a random word there. It was all your soul, and then so on.
Direct response. I've asked a question, I've had an answer.
How did the rest of the investigation go from that point?
Just just spiraled out of control. Really, he just couldn't believe what was happening, you know. But at the time, I knew nothing about anything walking behind me, or all I had at the time was just these responses coming through. So, and then the last straw was when I said, "Do you want me to get out?" And it says, "Get out," and it was time to go. You know, I don't. I kind of know when to stop, where to leave it. I don't want to keep pursuing it if something doesn't want me to be there.
Absolutely.
So it's time to wrap it up and go.
Have you been back there since?
Been I've been there since, yeah, and again this the same thing. Um, the second time I went there, I asked who am I talking to, and it said the devil
Oh wow.
come through. Um, but I don't think I was talking to the devil. I believe it's some kind of intelligent spirit, intelligent entity. I
Hmm.
believe it's a spirit just throwing its weight around, knows it can communicate, and it just wants to let you know that is evil. You know, I don't believe I was actually talking to the devil. You know.
Hmm. I'm kind of curious, and I'm gonna do. I want to look into it a little bit as far as like where that road was built. One of the things, one of the pictures I caught years ago from a fatality scene that I worked was on a stretch of highway that was actually built through an old Indian burial ground. So I'm kind of curious to see, years and years and years prior, what was that land actually used for? Because there's something definitely there that's causing all this.
All I know is that there's a church nearby, and that's all. And the story of this monk, there could have been, as far as I know, there could have been some like satanic,
Hmm.
rituals happening there. You don't know. It's just all we know now is people are dying on this stretch of road. The cars are spiraling out of control. I've heard stories of figures jumping out in front of the car,
Okay.
like shadow figures jumping, and that's made people veer off the road.
Hmm.
I've heard stories about the lights at night just going off and and then coming back on again. But near that location, there's a massive like power plant, and it's giving off all this. You can't use an EMF meter there because the readings are off. You know,
Just because you're
it's
too
just
close to the power plant.
yeah. It's pumping out all this EMF electrical field.
Hmm.
So this is giving like spirits potential power to do what they need to do. You know, if there's all this EMF in the air.
Well, Christopher said he thinks the monk causes the car accidents, and Joan Willis said, "I agree."
Mm,
Well, I could
yeah,
definitely see that.
definitely. It's like I say, the road is not a real dangerous stretch of road.
Hmm.
It's not got sharp bends or anything like that. It's pretty much a straight road, so there's not really any sense why people are having all these accidents and unfortunately dying.
So let's
So
play the audio clip one more time, just so everyone now that we talked about it, they can hear it one more time. So let's play it.
Use your voice. Use it. Don't. You. He's just said your soul. And we had that deep on inner. Just say inner. Your inner soul. Your soul inner, and it's just said. Do you want my soul?
That's definitely powerful because even the voice itself sounds very deep. So, I mean, that's definitely a good piece of evidence you got there. So we got a few more minutes left in the show. I want to talk about some other things, some just general questions I like to ask people. So what are some of your favorite locations? Because here in the U.S., there's all the ones that are usually on the shows and everything like that, and there's a lot of hidden ones as well. But I know not much about any of the locations in the UK. So what are some of your favorite ones over there?
Stockbridge Bypass, one that is one of my favourites. There's a location called Birbeck Hall. Basically, it's just a Victorian mansion house which closed in the 90s, late 80s. Just closed for whatever reason, and it's just been left. Again, a beautiful, stunning building has just been left to ruin, and a lot of people have seen hauntings in there and seen shadow figures and things like that. It's crazy. So that's my favorite. One of my favorite places. Um, there's a place in what's called Derbyshire in the UK. There's a house what's hidden away in the woods, it looks like a Tudor house. The black and white kind of exterior, and that's another location. It's just you're walking through the woods, and then just this house appears, and again, that's unfortunate circumstances have happened with that. That's been empty since the 1970s, and people have said that they've been attacked in there by an unseen presence, and but there's tons of locations in the UK. There's the famous East Street, East Drive, 30 East Drive. That's a world famous location.
There's a ton of history, everywhere too.
Yeah, UK. There's tons and tons of history. You don't know what's been going on.
hmm
You
So
know, yeah.
Christopher Mason said, "Don't forget about a box on Halloween. Do you have some kind of thing coming up?"
Oh, yeah. A debug box happened last Halloween. Um, this other team I was working with, they just got this box which was all like sealed and candle wax and had all these religious symbols around it and things like that. And they thought it was a good idea to open this on Halloween, and I wanted no part of it. I just witnessed it be open. I said, "Oh no," and I don't want to, break this open. But I will watch it because I'm an investigator and I'm curious.
hmm
And we opened it, and basically all that was in it was like a bracelet and just little things. We don't know where this box has come from. We don't know. I kept asking the guy, "What's the history? What do we know about this box?" He seemed to be really unsure what this box, why it was sealed, why it was locked up. It was sealed in candle wax. It was chained up, you name it. But it was opened, and almost 12 months later, a lot of bad stuff's happened to us all.
Yeah.
And me in my personal life, I probably had the worst year of my life. A lot of you know, from that point to now, my life personally has seismically changed. A lot of all of us, what was in that room since last October, bad things has happened to us. And I
Really?
think it could be something. I could be completely wrong. It could be just
Well,
unlucky.
it would be a
But
weird coincidence though for everyone to have something bad happen who was in that
we've
room.
all, ever since that point in October, we've all had a fair share of bad luck.
hmm
And I've I've had a relationship end. I've had a dog die. Um, you know, I've lost a home, and all in the space of nearly a year now. Just it's crazy. But my back of my mind, I kind of think, is it the box, or is it just one of those things? Like
Yeah.
I'm always open-minded with paranormal, but I won't just jump at conclusions and say, well, that is what it is, But it's quite strange that all three of us who was opening that box together, even though I didn't touch it personally, but I was
Hmm.
there to witness it open. You know,
It's definitely a possibility.
I wouldn't rule it out. You know, you don't know what you've let loose in the world.
Exactly.
Obviously, that box has been closed for a reason,
Hmm.
and
Gonna stay close, hopefully.
well, whatever was in it is now out. So
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
that is it. You know,
Jason Marcus wants to know: is the Big Ben Tower in London haunted?
quite possibly, quite possibly. You know, I'd love to go in and investigate. Um, you know, anywhere. You know, the UK is an old island.
Hmm.
It's got a lot of history. A lot of things have taken place. It's just these things what have taken place. Are they still with us? Are they still lingering around?
Hmm.
It's interesting.
So, is there any places in the U.S. that on your bucket list? Any locations?
Oh, I think the stuff here. It used to be what is it now? It's the it's a sanatorium. Insane. It used to be an insane asylum, and it's got no on the upper level. It's got no windows. It's wide open, and I can't remember at the top of my head what it's called.
It looks like it's on the tip of your tongue.
It is, and it's gonna. Yeah, what is it? It's tuberculosis hospital where they used to treat, but it's now closed. And but that is the one. That is the one. And I don't know if people in the chat know what can prompt me, but and all I know is that the upper level it's massive and it's got no windows on the top. And see if anyone knows. There's that, and basically just all the insane asylums in the US. Um, I would love to go. That'd be
Is it Waverly?
Waverley
Okay.
one.
I was gonna
Like
say it. I was waiting for people to throw it up in the chat just to confirm that I
Waverley.
was thinking the
That is
same
the
thing.
one. That is the one. Thank you very much.
Uh,
That is it. That and there's that murder house as well.
the uh, the Axe Murder House.
That's the one. Yeah. Um, I'd like to even go to Zach Bagan's museum as well.
So Carla said Whitby, Liverpool, Cornwall, lots of places in the UK. I got to read around my camera here. So many books: Haunted Doncaster and Haunted. I don't know if I'm gonna say it right. Rotherham
Yeah,
are
that's the
good
one. Yeah,
if you are interested in any of the locations Phil has been.
that's the one. Yeah, I'm pretty much. I investigate around my local area. I have been further afield. I'm going to this week. I'm going to Whitby in
Okay.
the UK, and this is where apparently where Dracula came to reside in
Okay.
Whitby in the UK. This is where Bram Stoker got the idea you know, they say, you know, the book is based on the place where I'm going, and it's just like a real gothic place. You know, it's got the old cemetery, it's got the abbey, you know, the abbey on the hill
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, which is kind of like the Transylvania kind of look to it.
I
You
actually
know,
I know the place you're talking about. I've seen it on TV a few times.
yeah, it's a good
Definitely
place.
looks
I'm
good.
going there Thursday, so I'll be doing a live stream and a video from there. So should be
Awesome.
good.
Usually when you do your live streams, it's when I'm getting up and getting ready to go to work, so I can definitely catch them since we're on so many
Yeah,
different hours.
so yeah, time difference and that. Yeah, it's pretty.
Joan wants to know
Yeah,
if you're coming
I'm
to the
on
U.S. at any
YouTube, and
point.
you know, I when I want to watch them, I'm going to bed. So yeah,
uh, Joan wants to know if you're coming to the U.S. at any point.
love to, love to. I will be. I'm sure in my lifetime I will be entering the US at some point. You
Awesome.
know, just follow me on my channels. You know, on my Facebook and my YouTube, and and then you'll be able to see what I'm up to in future.
What are
You
your
know, so yeah,
Facebook and YouTube channels so everybody knows?
it's just Phil Sinclair's Paranormal Investigations. Just search, put it in the search bar. It'll be the first one what comes
And
up.
I'll tell everyone, definitely check it out. I love watching, how you investigate, and you do get a lot of good things coming across. So, I anyone in the U.S. definitely watch these places or places that we're not familiar with. So it's fun to watch and learn the history of those places while you're doing it.
Yeah, I've got I have a lot of US followers. You know, it's
Hmm.
and they love watching, seeing the locations more than anything else because it's entirely different to what they're seeing.
Hmm.
What they're used to. You know, it's completely different scenery and different. You know, it's just something different for for a viewing for a viewer to watch. So it's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Phil, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's almost 3 o'clock there now.
It's 3 a.m. now, yeah.
Yeah,
So
3 a.m. So, I do appreciate you taking time and staying up late to chat with us. I love the evidence that we were able to show. Uh, Definitely go and check out his Facebook, Phil Sinclair. Check out his YouTube. You got a live feed coming up this Thursday, so definitely make sure you check it out. Phil, thank you again for coming on, and we'll definitely be chatting again soon.
no worries, yeah, I'll come back anytime.
All right, thanks, buddy. You have a good night.
No, you too. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
bud. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in to DPX Live. Phil, thank you again for coming on. Loved hearing the history about the cemetery and the roadway and stuff like that. It's definitely a different aspect of things that we investigate here in the U.S. Go to his Facebook channel, Phil Sinclair, his YouTube channel. Like we just said, he's got a live feed coming up this Thursday. For next show, we have, which will be next Tuesday, we'll have the Reverend Sean on. He's someone you probably don't know too much about if you're friends with me, but he is coming on the Spirit Realm Network. He's going to have his own show. I'm not going to give too much away because I want you guys to tune in. He's got a lot of good things to talk about. Just saying he's a reverend, that should kind of put it in place on how the next show is going to go. But until next week, thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.